Hello fellow WildRift players and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. On Cho's channel we have now seen a few of the new items, and in this video we are going to talk about them, what they're going to do with champions and what you can expect from the next update. But before we do this, let's talk about a question of the day. What do you believe is the most broken item shown in this video? Let me know in the comments below. First, we have Immortal Shield Bow. This new AD carry item is an item that most of the AD carriers will want to buy if they need survivability. This item can replace a first item in the form of Stormrazor, or can be purchased a little bit later if you just really need the shielding. You can view it as the new Phantom Dancer, or rather, well, a different version of it, because there's also a change coming to the Phantom Dancer, which you will see later in this video. But for this item, you most likely are going to rush this item if you need defensive items, but on the other hand, if you're already snowballing, Stormrazor might be just better. To not overlook here is the fact that we now have all the stats an AD carry wants on one single item. You have attack damage, you have crit, you have attack speed, and you have physical vamp, and the shielding on top with extra lifesteal later on. This is really not to be underestimated if you think about enemy all-inning you or just general sustain situations. Especially paired up with Hunter Vampirism or even Gluttonous Greaves, you are really tankier than you used to be beforehand. But, and here's the big but, you deal significantly less damage because Stormrazor enhances your damage capabilities by quite a lot and allows you to chase down enemies easier with the slow effect. The next item we have to talk about is the Collector. This item is going to be a snowball item which every AD carry will buy if they're snowballing in a game. Other champions such as Kayn or maybe other assassins can also look into this item, but other than this, not many champions will buy this item. The issue with this item is the following: it has a very low armor penetration, and number two, the execution threshold isn't even that high, and what does the item provide compared to other items? For example, the bonus effect on Yomus with the movement speed, or just generally things you have on your mind. The biggest save for this item though would be the critical strike chance, but overall, what would make this item better as a purchase compared to Lord Dominic's Regards? I personally don't see any real difference, because if you do the math and think about the armor pen you gain from Lord Doms or any other armor pen item, but in this case a crit item because we obviously want the crit from Lord Doms, this item will surely deal substantially less damage compared to Lord Dominic's Regards. Don't forget, flat armor penetration is really not the strongest in WildRift because the fastest growing stat in this game is armor. You gain armor so fast that flat penetration just isn't as useful compared to, for example, magic penetration, because you barely gain any magic resistance. We are also getting a new component called Quiver. This item will feature attack damage and attack speed and will build into Phantom Dancer, Stormrazor and Immortal Shield Bow according to Cho's. I really hope that this item includes a typo, because if you compare this item to the PC version, it seems rather lacking as a component, but we'll see upon release. Another new component is Nashs Talon. This item is a hybrid item and it has adaptive stats. If you have more AD on your champion, then this item will grant you AD, but if you have more AP on your champion, then this item will grant you AP. If your champion hasn't bought any AD or AP yet, then the system will decide what you'll get. For example, an Ezreal will usually get AD, and a mage, for example a Veigar, will get AP. If you then have more of the other stat bought for other items, it will then swap over to the other stat. Nashs Talon built into Nash's Tooth, and also this item is receiving a change. It's getting cheaper and it receives another big change. Remember Hackstack Gunblade? In the past this item used to grant you AD and AP. This item is somewhat similar, but you have to choose. Either you gain AD or AP depending on your champion and the stats you have. Another thing is a change to its passive, or unique passive so to say. Basic attacks deal bonus damage on hit, which now scales with bonus attack damage and ability power at the same time. The AP scaling also received a 10% buff on top, which is a huge improvement for the item. On the other hand, it lost quite a bit of attack speed in 5% and a bit of ability haste and flat ability power, but the scaling of this item has become significantly better than before, and it's an option for hybrid champions such as Kai'Sa, Ezreal, or any other hybrid champion you can think of. With the introduction of Shield Bow, we are now also getting a change to Phantom Dancer. Its price is getting increased, but it also receives different stats and makes it a very powerful item for DPS. It has AD, crit chance, and attack speed, bonus movement speed, and a new unique passive. If you attack an enemy champion, or are generally after a basic attack according to the nodes, you gain bonus movement speed. After 4 basic attacks afterwards, you gain bonus attack speed for the same duration. If you combine this with lethal tempo, you'll literally turn into a machine gun. AD carries historically had big problems finding footing in generally competitive matches, and all those items will not do too much to make them more competitive. However, in solo queue, having those steroid items available will make AD carry borderline broken. It's so much more easier to pilot an AD carry in a chaotic environment than in a controlled environment where mages are just outperforming them on any meaningful level. But with this, it's going to be absolute chaos on the Rift, and any AD carry main can literally not complain anymore about their roll strength in solo queue. The next item change comes to Ascend's Reaper, and here we have a cost reduction and a change to its unique passive. It now has an Energize passive, which empowers the next ability or basic attack to deal up to 30% more damage based on critical strike chance. It has a cooldown, and the cooldown is reduced by basic attacks. And there's one champion that will love this item more than anyone else in the game, and it's Corki. He will absolutely demolish you with his rockets. Just imagine level 13, the big rocket hits you with a 30% damage increase right into your face, and the next item we'll talk about as well. There's no way you can survive this, and Corki will probably be the best AD carry or mage-like AD carry you can ask for. Good laning, good scaling, and literally sending your entire team to the next game with just one ability. That sounds really fun and fair. Honestly, it doesn't. This item could also be a decent option for Lucian and fixing all his mana issues without losing out on the crit build. It would also be very interesting to know if the Energize passive would count for his entire ultimate if it's cast. Because imagine all the damage of every single shot is increased by 30% because it's the single spell. So we are in for some interesting build experiments. Now let's talk about the item I've teased before. It's Muramana. This item gets a significant change in how it functions. Previously, or in the past, this item only worked on auto attacks or on hit abilities like for example Asri's first ability. Now with this update, the damage is overall lowered compared to the past, but it now applies to all spells you cast, which means for example a Corki throwing out rockets or his first ability will all deal the bonus extra damage to enemy champions. And if you think about Corki's E or literally anything, it will always apply damage to the enemy champion with the Muramana passive. This, needlessly to say, also applies to other champions such as the Blue Kayn or Kayn in general, which can utilize this item pretty effectively since they usually have mana issues if they go blue. Another champion who loves this item or is going to love this item even more is Varus. The bonus damage on spells will make a significant difference in how much damage he does to you before a fight, and you can't even do anything about this, so it makes it even worse. So if you think about this, it makes already strong or decent AD carries in the competitive meta even stronger than before, especially if you think about the fact that they're not forced to interact with people in an auto attack or from auto attack range. We also have changes to runes, and here we have some replacements. Hunter Titan is getting removed and the new rune is called Toughness takes its place. You get 10% tenacity, and when you're affected by any type of crowd control, you get armor and magic resist for 1.5 seconds. The duration is also refreshed with each instance of consecutive crowd control. This rune could single-handedly deal with a lot of issues regarding the pen builds for Magic Pen. Giving you magic resist will put you over a certain threshold, which will then obviously lower the damage and then lower the effectiveness of the pen builds. So it's pretty interesting to see how this one will play out. Another thing that would be interesting to know about this, if the tenacity is multiplicative or additive. So for example, if you have Mercury strats, if you're going to have 45 or less than 45, because it has a diminishing return. The next rune that says goodbye is Hunter Genius, and we are getting Transcendence. On level 1 we gain 6 ability haste, at level 6 we get another 6, and at level 11 we get something truly unique. If you hit an enemy champion with a basic ability, you reduce the basic ability's cooldown by 15% with an 8-second cooldown. I don't know yet if that is per basic ability or just generally, but it's a really interesting concept which could make things very interesting if you think about this. For example, think about Rengar with Navori Quick Blades and this item, or any other champion that literally spams spells and has access to this and Navori. And that wraps up today's video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about those new things, and tell me what do you want to have changed next. Anyways, see you soon for another RiftGuides video.